I had to get more into this deliverance thing as a young Joe the Big Buck with big old Willard there, huge old Willard. Same thing, it's growing up in the city with Willard and the Stone Heavyweights, big middle class. The rest are kind of just squeezed out in the shredders. Same thing, a lot of giants. And you got old Joe in power now, coming in, and it's the shredding. And it's like they're a bunch of inbred still, and big monkeys in lethargic world. And it's big bar snare, cracking down on them. And there was old Willard tossed out, same thing, out east in the weight. And even big old Willard bopped out in the weight. And guys are bopping out in the weight, tossed out, they can't take it. Just how they ended up snared. And then they think they're better too. But the thing about young Joe is he's the power not blaster. They don't hold any weight to him, even though they're trying to make him look stupid and young, and they say terrorists and they're making false claims. That's old Joe being butthurt after a fucking rocky deliverance out there. And they kind of use the old gentle Joe, and he's in power now. He's smarter too. He's not like old Trump there, where Trump was just taking the dumps, right? Trump was even more of a fucking idiot. That's a funny thing. But old Joe, same thing. They decide to get arrogant and step up. They have pride about stuff. The herb is tossing them out. That's how powerful a greener-eyed monster is. Greener-eyed monsters take the herb. We're blasters. Well, as they have one or two puffs, they're like lightweights out. Watch out. We're focused, and there's benefits too. Same thing in the upheaval and stuff. It's big bar snare. And with that too, when you're out there and you're squeezed out and you're young and whatever, you did the damage, now they're tossing you out. The argument too, all they need to do is start an arrogant argument just because they think they know it all and they're fools that can't be beat. They get insulted by intelligence, right? Just like someone comes in and says, you're crazy. Next thing you know, they're calling him a genius, sucking his dick as the stupid one trying to change the topic. Just because they can't keep up. That's young Joe also evolving as a power not blaster. It's literally big bar of out of Star Wars with Obi there. And Obi was the monkey that got caught and got the low blow. Same thing, because he was a monkey that had to go out and get a Ruger. And then he used that Ruger on himself in the heat. Just like there was a fucking black hole of the force there saying, put it in your head. And he ended up shooting his son in the balls. Because it's the same thing, it's quarrels inside, greener-eyed monster. And your masters are going to be jealous too. Your mindset is going past the average. Same thing, he's a bopper. They're using school as a reason. Same thing, they have all the old labels, and and school is the huge chopping block is the weight. And old Joe saying this and that. Yeah, old Joe, that's the fucking old way. Same thing. You're also disturbing over the years too, belittling about it. It's stuff we like to do. And it's not doing too much harm. It's actually tossing some people out. That's a funny thing. You got to watch out. That's how heavyweight it is. Some people get better focus, same thing. And then you come down after the high in cloud nine and someone comes in like with a low rock blow. That's just to show you too how far the mindset is. Like a big old brain, way out in space. And the monkeys and the whiteouts and the dykes are fucking idiots. At least the monkeys aren't wrong to nature. The dykes are just fucking everything. Like the gays and the dykes, same thing. They think they're right. But what they actually can't say is the right. And young Joe was the right one because he's not that stupid. He's not that arrogant. A lot of guys are trapped in grudges. They're focused and false, and it's going to push back. And they're looking just for the suffering. But it's actually bringing out their suffering, and they're trying to make someone look like they're suffering and bring out the old suffering word and start accusing people and shaming and blaming. But it shows that they're just looking for the suffering. They're in faulty comparison class issues, and you don't just get to push into another class like with the Big Bang here. Bop is the bopper. You don't get to just push in and try to start flaring and disturbing someone up, because that's the thing with the blaster. You're going to get the heat, and it's literally going to burn you when the bopper comes out. And it's whited out too. No one will understand it. It's like the Jedi evolving like the Jedi on little old Earther. Way before the fucking battle, a similar story followed him back from them, like David. Same thing, and there's old Dave there, and Tom's in a hurry. Tom's saying this and that as a cop, just an average cop they don't even know, and Tom's head's down after, and he's overpowered, and they're still trying to make a big deal. And same thing, it's a false claim, and they think they have cause. But it's also legal now too, so they won the battle too, and it's picking up. Watch, just because they know now. And while they were focused as fucking idiots from the 70s, shaming and blaming something, it actually is helping people, and they're also liking it too. Same thing, when there's belittling and upheaval, and they're butthurt because they have to do this and that, and old Bop'Z and solid and tight. Watch out, because you're going to be treating you like you're walking on eggshells. That's when there's just so many people walking over each other. They'll fill you very quick, and even solid and big. You could go in the quicksand, that's a fine thing. And then they feel the pressure when the shredders are coming and they're wrong. Same thing, it's because they're wrong. And they want to look like the force, the super force and the powerhouse. And out east, they're known as Joe, and old Joe's coming in, and he's the wise one, and he's in power after the Rocky Deliverance playing the banjo. And the old boy reminds him of the hot shot out there with big old Willard, kind of doing a little bit of roughing him up too. And old Willard, they try to buck fuck old Willard too, because old Joe's using that as the joke as well. And old Willard ends up beating their heads in and fucking them. Same thing. He's not the one that gets fucked. Whereas old Joe was just kind of whited out. He's just too young playing the banjo. Same thing. They're calling old Joe lazy and mocking him. And he's the same thing, a kid that goes and plays with his toys after. Because they're just not at the same mindset as Joe. And he's too good, and a lot of people are just kind of in it for the suffering too with the mating issue. But the funny thing is they're wrong on the mating issue. Also, guys, same thing like us, me, Dalton, as Willard, freak out on a few chicks. That's why old Joe's kind of squeezed out there, because he blew through too many. Same thing like Willard, right? Willard was asked out after. Funny thing is, the false claim come in and they say they don't do this and that, they don't get laid, dykes are acting tough, men are soft, and then they get fucked by something that's so hard as a dyke, by the cocks that fuck them, and they thought it was a soft cock. Next thing you know, the boppers in their cunt just shredding it. Because what they actually thought was men were soft, and they ended up cracking them too. Like, and they thought they were the young guns and they'd be tossed out here. It's in solid, but watch out, they toss people out very quick. Remember, old Willard got bopped out. And there's old Joe too, they want you to be a faggot after. It's not like that. You know why? Because that's not the attraction of nature. That's when you're just over everything, and it's just a fucking shredder, like the deer stacking up and putting it in each other's ass, right? Same thing with people, they just, that's just how they line up. But that's not that's not what I like. That's a fine thing, right? It's chicks that are like chickens, and whiteouts too. They don't remember anything, and they think they go back on a story. You're not going to be back and forth and picking and choosing, because you can't just walk into the old Big Bang there as Young Joe, power knot blaster, bopping them out. Same thing, and they can't agree with Young Joe, and Young Joe has the flyway. They're just the butthurt, arrogant old ones down south with the power, and it's all south. The north is whited out too, and he comes from the far north. Same thing, not lightweight. They take the guy lightly, easier to kill because they think this and that. And next thing you know, they're hit with something just so hard after thinking it's soft cock. And their little cunts are getting pounded with a rock down low. Same thing when you go to that level. Same thing, and then you're sinning too. You're up against Jesus on this, because that's a fine thing. Big boy's in the hopper. That's another army boy there in the whited outside. And there's Dave screaming giants. Dave is a classic Army vet too in it. And from Uncle Sam there, Uncle Sam, you gotta watch out for Uncle Sam too. And they just don't know how to go at it. He's Big Boy's from the whited outside where it's Dr. Sedative, sedating Army boy and snaring them even when they're just so tough. And they got their tags and they got all the kills. Guys that put them in the shredders too. They thought they were moving into Black Ops. It was gonna be terror and guerrilla stuff. And then they seen the old boy with the light white shirt and they were snared out in the middle of the field and he had the Army shorts on. That's all they seen. Next thing you know, they're talking to someone and they say, hey, that was Big Boy. Trying to check their record too. You better watch out when Jesus is in too and the devil's there and he's coming on low, because Jesus will get the devil on anything. And they'll know too just by talking to you and looking into you. When the regular Army way is just too tough, and they're a bunch of inbreds and fucking monkeys and whiteouts out there, right? And they all knew old Joe would kind of be something one day from just playing the banjo out there and snaring dudes in the river and buck fucking them and cooking meth and whatever they're doing. They're doing a little bit of building too. They're little shacks. There ain't nothing out there. That's the funny thing. They do it all themselves. And what it is actually just such a heated deliverance they're going into from sex heaven, because it's the punishment part now too. They're not going to get away with just blowing through, and it's free will. And then they think they're shot callers, same thing. They think they're running it, they're the only ones. That's a funny about the inbreds. And then they fall and they're tossed out. And a little Camaro there from the 80s was tossed out by Bop, because Bop's already stacking the tracks up, you know, at 49 hits already. Right, well, they're trying to work on theirs. Bop is different. He kind of gets into the magic where a lot of other MCs and freestylers are not getting it, and they say they're the best. Then they're tossed out because old Bop comes along, and there's a guy way before him too. Same thing, and even up north, right? You know, just like all the other fucking rappers down south there in the north. Same thing, they get a tape and it ends up pulling weight out. The mainstream doesn't know anything. Right there, they try to say this and that, but they're wrong. Don't open your mouth if you're stupid and not right. Don't make a false claim. That's what you're going to learn, and that's why Young Joe keeps winning the battles, because they're a bunch of fucking idiots, and the big boys evolving like right at blasting off to space. Watch out, as gods will be in it too, and even them are getting tossed around just by disturbing, thinking it's a joke. That's what they're gonna do too. They're gonna say, like I said, people are crazy, crazy, crazy. They're a bunch of fucking inbreds. They wouldn't even know what a bopper was out there, or going to that kind of power. They're still on gunpowder. Watch out, a big bang hits. Like a bopper, bop, 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 bop. Next thing you know, they're all gone like that. There was a whole fucking dyke army after she stood up. You know, watch out. You're gonna get your mouth hammer fist fucked when you just lip someone off too. That's why a lot of them wouldn't say nothing too, because they've been hammer fucked. They're just not evolving the right way with the way too. Better not be tricking, because the army boys will be right behind. And in deliverance, they rise to power, just tossing them out. It's off to the army. And that's where they get the money when there's not much to do out in old deliverance there, is there? And you can't even do the regular work in town or whatever, their little shots. You're not fitting in. Next thing you know, you're off to the army in deliverance. We're big boys stuck in here. Same thing, this is where they get away with it too. Out east, they can get tough. Here they have more free will and they're more protected, and Big Bar Snare is going too. Watch out, because Big Bar Snare is evolving, holding it in too in the blast. And when you're mocking the Big Bang Bop, you better not hope he comes in, because he's going to be bopping your cunts out for arrogant mouths when you learn it's big old mammoth from the Jeffrey side too, and you can't touch it, and you're getting hot too. You're getting flared up. You're getting angry because you can't keep up. Same thing. It's going way past your kind of threshold. That's because you're not in the same mindset. Don't shame and blame after, and talk about suffering and just say you're suffering. because you can't understand. It shows you're a fucking idiot. Don't even say it at all, or ask what part you don't understand. Don't just say it. Because it shows you're stupid, and you're just one of these person that think, hey, the guy's just suffering. But old Bop loves the good old West too. That's the funny thing. He wouldn't be out east. No vanity stuff. I've been out east before, same thing. There's a big Joe out there in the jungle. Real roots too, it ain't no joke, right? So do not fucking make a false claim when you don't even know who you're talking about. That's why you guys are picking and pecking each other like chickens too, and there's so much upheaval. You're just getting tossed out. Watch, there'll be someone to fill your place too. And others that will be tossed out by the back heat thinking something, and they couldn't even take the pressure even though they were talking tough, and they think they have a reason, and you think you uproot someone, that's when you get hurt. Like an attempt, like it's always ass out too, and the devil will set you up because he knows you're squeezed out. And then there'll be sunnies too that will just, that's a fine thing, keeping solid. That's all you have to fucking do. And when you're coming, picking and pecking along, you think someone has to do this and that, and has to be qualified a certain way. Watch out, because it's going to change in the future. This Big Bop Power Nap Blaster goes into the future.